So this piano is kind of special to me. Growing up in our church, we had a fellowship hall. And in that hall were two pianos. One was this little Wurlitzer Spinet piano that was really tinny and bright. And there was this Howard piano, made a product of Baldwin, it says. Anyway, so this was always the nice piano, and, quote, nice piano. And the people at church said, you can't touch this piano. You can only play the other one. So growing up, I could never really play this piano. One day a few years ago, they got a hold of me and said, hey, we're getting rid of that piano. Do you want it? And they're just going to toss the thing. So my wife and I went, got it, put it up in the studio, and now I get to play it. It's really not that great of a piano, but it's a really fun piano. Everybody who's played this says the same thing. They just enjoy playing it. It's a fun piano. It's fun to sit down and write music on. It's fun to rehearse with. It's not a great recording piano, but it is just a great little instrument to have around. It's really fun to play. I don't really know how to say it otherwise. So yeah, I started playing piano. I don't remember exactly why, but Mom wanted me to learn, so I started taking lessons, and I hated practicing. I hated lessons. Piano lessons were... That's the first lesson, middle C with both hands. It's like, that is not what I want to hear, man. I don't want to hear something cool. So anyway, I took lessons for a while, but I never practiced well. The piano teacher was pretty strict. I mean, he never hit me with a ruler that I remember, but he looked like he was going to. So one day I was at school, and my teacher was playing something by looking at the music, but it was clear she wasn't playing the notes that were written. She was playing what turns out to be chords. And I said, what are you doing? She says, I'm playing the chords. I said, what the heck's a chord? And she showed me a little, so I went home, and my next piano lesson, I said to my teacher, I need you to teach me how to play chords. And he showed me some basics, and then I quit piano lessons, and then it took 50 years to learn how to play. So growing up, when I was a young teenager, I started playing the piano a lot when my family was out at high school football games. So Friday nights, the family would go to the game, and they would let me stay home on the piano. And in my mind, I had a concert going. There was 2 keyboard players, 2 guitar players, and drum. I mean, it was massive. I was really just banging on the piano. If my mom was home, she'd yell at me, "Quit banging on the piano." And for many years, I really just played alone. It was a great way to relieve stress. It was very therapeutic. I think the word is cathartic. To just be able to sit down and just play something and come up with maybe something new or something old, maybe something I like to hear, on a record or something, but I really wasn't into playing other people's music so much. I just wanted to hear what the piano spoke to me at that moment and have my own little concerts, just me and the angels. Yeah, it's beautiful. The piano is such an amazing instrument when you play it a certain way and let those chords ring out like that. I just used to play a note or a chord and just listen to it fade away. Yeah. It's very, very satisfying to me to play And mostly I played alone for years. I didn't really want people to hear me. I was nervous. I didn't feel like they wanted to hear it. And now I really do enjoy playing for people. And I'm really looking forward to releasing my next music because I don't have a burden anymore to make a certain type of music for anyone. I'm going to put out the music the way I hear it. I'm just going to make it sound the way I want it to sound. And if people like it, that's great. And if they don't, I don't really worry about that. Back when I was a teenager, one morning I woke up and I heard this music in my head. And this actually happened for a couple of days. I heard this little melody in my head. And I worked it out on the piano. And then later on, maybe not even a month later, I ended up running into a guy who had written some lyrics in tribute to a guy in town who played the accordion, and he died. Well, my friend this guy that I ended up becoming friends with, really loved this accordion player. He made people happy. He played the accordion through the town, and after he died, he wrote some lyrics, and it turns out his lyrics fit in with the melody that I played, so he and I ended up kind of writing the song together. So we started doing a lot of that. He would write lyrics, I would write the music, and we would go and perform. We performed at schools and at the retirement home, and we did our little shows at the memorial hall in town. At first, just people would come in and watch us practice. Girls would come in and watch, and we'd play stuff, and they'd cry because they thought it was so great. And I thought that was kind of neat. But we ended up evolving into a rock band called Avatron, and it was kind of early 80s. He grew his hair long and did the David Lee Roth thing, and I painted a little star on my face and wore a kimono and played keyboards, and we had a great guitar player, a big drummer. Yeah, it was kind of fun. So since then, I've been in a lot of different bands, mostly other people's projects or cover bands. I do enjoy playing, but I also really, really enjoy writing, and I love writing with other people, especially if they write lyrics. I like to put music to it. Sometimes I'll add my own lyrics or whatnot. Sometimes I'll write the entire lyrics, but I really love collaborating. I don't like working alone. I don't mind playing alone, but I don't like to just work alone. I like to have other people to work with in music. One of my latest musical projects was with a guitar player that goes by the name of Tank Van Doel. And we put together a project we ended up calling Temple of Switches. Our first CD I thought was pretty good. We almost nailed what we were trying to do there. But when we write together, he has a style that's kind of dreary and somber, and my style's a little more positive and upbeat. So when we work together, we put this music together, and I always call it like chocolate and peanut butter. So it's not songs that we would ever come up on our own, but together we come up with music. I think it's pretty good. Definitely different than either one of us would do by ourselves. So a lot of people, they sit down, they already know what they're going to play, or they have a repertoire. They can sit down and just pick something, play something that they know. I should do that. I rarely think of a song to play. If someone says sit down and play, I don't even know what to play. But what I generally do is I sit down, hit a note, and see what the piano speaks to me. Every piano sounds different. Every piano feels different. And I feel like you can play a song anytime, I guess. That's different than having a conversation with this instrument that you just sat down at. If we had a show, right? I'd be ready to go. We're always well rehearsed, and it's no problem. Or if I'm going to go do a performance somewhere, of course I'm ready to go, and that's, that's show business, I guess. But as far as just sitting down at an instrument I've never touched, yeah, sure, they're all 88 keys, they're black and white, whatever, but they all speak different things to me when I sit down, and it also depends on how I feel. So I generally just like to improvise something, and I'm not a virtuoso, but I do enjoy listening to what the piano has to say to me and working with it. Starting to play the piano without really knowing much about music theory, I could hear it. It made sense, but I didn't really know what it was called, and I only learned basic chords. But along the way, I worked with different musicians that would turn me on to different things. Like our drummer in the band Avatron turned me on to fusion and a little bit of jazz. Stuff I wouldn't have normally wanted to listen to, but he said, listen to this. He actually made me listen and pick things out. And so that would help me understand something different about the music that I either wasn't playing or, that I heard but didn't know how to play. And along the way, I learned what those things were called, like different modulations or different intervals on the keyboard, different ways of making chords, different inversions. These terms started coming from other musicians. So, I know a lot of it. I just don't really think that mechanically with music. I hear something and it makes sense to me, or it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, well, I don't like it. And if it does, it doesn't matter what it's called, it works. Now, I've worked with some musicians who are very technical and classically trained. But the projects we've worked on weren't so difficult that, their description of it didn't make sense. It made sense to me because I do know a lot of the basics. And if I have to think that way, I can switch gears in my head and start thinking very mechanically. That's what I call it. So, I can play a song in pretty much any key because I know the intervals and I know chord substitutions. So if they say, hey, we're going to do a 3-chord thing, I can pick different chords that work with it just because I know how it sounds, not necessarily because I mechanically put it together in my mind. Some guys are really good at that, and I just like to feel it. Lori, got some things on my mind. Thought about leaving it all behind. Lori, you've been thinking too. Thoughts about tomorrow, what you gonna do. But ooh, you get to me somehow. Ooh, you get to me somehow. After I got married and we had our kids, I ended up getting back into doing cover bands, and we put together a band, typical keyboard, bass, drums, guitar. I was the lead singer for most of the songs, and we would play different parties, but mostly every year friends of ours would have a luau party, and a lot of people would come, and there was a lot of food, and we'd set our band up there and play throughout the night. And I think the kids I didn't really think much of that, but I think they ended up kind of liking it. Later years, we would bring the band up here to our studio, which is in the house, and we would play at full volume, and the kids would be going to sleep. We'd be playing 9:30, 10:30, whatever at night. And I just figured it's my house, and so if they don't like it, they can lump it. But I think they might have liked it. I'm not really sure. I'm going to find out. But we'd practice a couple times a week, full volume. We live in a place, our neighbors are far enough away so they could hear it, but it didn't bother them. But I know the kids heard it because it was loud. Yeah, being on stage is interesting. Everybody has a different way of looking at it. I usually look at people and I think that they're completely at ease and calm and ready to go. And so I try to bring that into myself. When I was younger and we'd go on stage, I would feel a little jittery, and I always told myself, I'm excited. I'm excited to get on stage. So I really programmed my mind to think, hey, I'm excited. I'm excited to get on stage. And the biggest difference between being afraid, for me anyway, stage fright and stage excitement is the amount of preparedness. When I'm ready, when we've rehearsed, I'm ready to go. I have no fear at all on stage. Just a little bit of excitement. Sure, I'll get a little nervous at first, but I don't think it's fright. I really want to get out there, and I really want to play those songs. Most recently, I do a little thing. It's like self-hypnosis. I just relax before it's time to go, relax my body, and I just tell myself, I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to doing this. I'm going to remember every chord. I'm going to remember every note. When anything happens that's not planned, we just keep moving on, and I just program that into myself. So really, when it's time to go, I'm ready to go. I love it. Yeah, I think making mistakes is something that if you ignore it and just continue to play, like most professionals say, just keep going. Most people don't hear it. I mean, many people don't hear the wrong note because they're just listening to the song, and it went away. Now, if I make a wrong, or what I consider a wrong note, or something that we didn't rehearse, and then make a big deal out of it, and now it's a big mistake. I mean, we could stop the whole song and say, hey, man, I really screwed that up, and I've actually seen that done before, and it can actually be kind of funny in that way. But in general, if a note doesn't fit at that particular moment, that moment's gone already. We just keep going. It's just extremely important to continue to play and not worry about it. Someone's going to hear it, someone's not going to hear it, doesn't matter. In fact, I love live concerts most when things don't go as planned. If I want to hear the song perfectly, I can listen to the record. I can get on Amazon Music, right, and play the album. I love it when people are on stage and they're human and they do something different, whether it's a mistake or a different way of doing it. I love that. If I wanted to hear the record, I'll play the flipping record. So I really do like the human aspect of things. And I like human timing, too. When we record, I really don't like click tracks. I understand it's a lot easier to collaborate with people when you use a click and all that stuff. But having human timing, I think, is much more enjoyable. And I think that's gone away. And maybe it'll make a resurgence. Maybe in the future soon, we'll have a song that has more human timing or little variations. And the people might listen to it and go, whoa, what is that? I've never heard anything like that. Because they're just used to absolutely perfect computer timing. We'll see. When I write lyrics, most of the time, the lyrics just flow. It seems like there's a day I haven't written something for maybe even years. And then one day, I just get inspired and I realize I better get a pencil and paper and just start writing them out, and they come to me. I think some phrases come from things that I heard in different records. Like sometimes I'll use "It's More Than a Feeling" to start something because of the Boston song. But I mean, I'm not trying to use their lyrics, but I'm using that like it's more than a feeling on the line or what have you. Some of the phrases, I think, came from inspirational people in my life that would say things over and over again, like, you can do it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And, I used that line in one of the songs. I try to simplify lyrics so that the words say what I'm feeling without really saying a lot of words. And sometimes it might be interpreted differently. Because there's so few words. But to me, I know exactly what it means because, I'm trying to say something that's very complicated in 4 words. But I do like it when people ask, hey, what does that mean? What were you trying to say there? It's kind of fun because then I get to describe it. And, a lot of times you don't really know what it means because there's so few words. So Victor, he is very inspirational to me. And it's interesting, I think for me, different than anyone else, because growing up, when he was literally probably 3 or 4 years old, I would sit down at the piano, and he would come up to the piano bench and push me away and say, oh, I want to do it. And he would play, and for a couple of years, I didn't play at all. And it really made me mad that I let this little guy like boss me around on the keyboard. But as time goes on and I listen to what he plays, it's kind of neat because I hear like my style coming out. And I mean, to me, that's a great honor. I never think about you playing because, like, you have one arm. I never think about that while you're playing. I hear what you're playing, and I really like what you play. And I think I've been able to be honest with you, too. Like, now that we're adults, most of the stuff you do is great. Sometimes you do something, oh, maybe, or you've asked me, hey, what should I do here? And I'll give you my opinion. And I like being able to just share that with you without worrying about it. At first, I could see, like, as a young kid and a dad, and you know, the dad plays whatever, and like you said, you know, you thought I could play it better than you, but I really just liked what you did, and I actually took it as just inspiration to play something else, especially because I hadn't heard it before. You know, it's playing some record someone brought out. This is something you created. I think it's great to be able to play what you created, and I really like being able to write stuff with you in a sense, like as Night Falls. You know, I hoped you liked it, but I didn't know. And yet again, I didn't really care. I'm just like, you know, this is what I'm hearing in my head, so I'm just going to do it, you know? So the more we do that, the happier I am. I've been trying to put my thoughts to words. All these feelings that you've never heard. Like the fresh rain falling down, trying to turn my heart upside down. Well, we both know that you have to leave, and I'm trying hard to believe that I will see you again. Promise you'll answer when my heart calls, and stay with me as night falls.